Okie dokie. So today we're going to first start off by talking about how how educational institutions are currently handling COVID-19. Oh, and also this is a very chill. Today's episode is going to be a chill one. We're not gonna be going too in depth about stuff. You guys start, cause I talk too much already.
Yeah, so basically, this is my theory, okay? My theory is that the universities have been purposefully very vague about their plans for the fall so that students are sort of forced to take out housing contracts and enroll because they're really scared about losing a lot of revenue. So they've been purposely very vague to make sure students to maximize the amount of students that will take out housing contracts and enroll. But in the background, they've sort of kind of conceded that most of it will be online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes me as I was talking to Ashman about this earlier, and before we started the thing, that makes me worried about people that are going out of state and that are going to be dorming out of state because their homes are far away, and then if flights are brought down again, then how are they supposed to get home? And if they can't get home, where are they supposed to stay? Because they can't stay at their dorms. And on top of that, as Ashwin said before as well, they won't get fully refunded for all that they all pay. But I mean, Ashwin, for the winter that you said they got with only 1K back at U of M, right?
Yeah, UFM didn't really refund that much for.
So was it? It was
students.
for their. It was for the winter semester, correct?
Yeah, it's like the winter or what I don't know what it's called, but
fall season.
The second semester.
The second
Yeah.
semester. But I mean, we can also argue that the reason why they only got 1K back was because there wasn't even how many months were left of second semester.
But I mean, this happened. When did university send everyone home? Back in
March.
Yeah. So that's halfway still.
Oh yeah, you're right. And they only got 1/7 of their payment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is unfair. Especially for families that are more financially rocky about it, and they're still
I mean, we didn't get refunds from IB, so
That's true. And that sucks for the people that actually put a lot of money into it.
Seventh IB, you have to pay more for seventh IB or something.
Yeah, for the people that were barely able to afford it, I feel bad for them because we put 1K into the IB for a bunch of people to just read essays and just look at them, $1,000, yeah.
And then the funny part is the document that Miss Juko sent, it's if you're not happy with the IB results, if you want to take the actual test, you have to pay more. So it's completely
that is
absurd.
actually effed up.
Yeah, you have to pay more to get more. It's oh man.
Hey, what's up?
It's like that.
What's up? What's up?
Hey, Vyom.
So since it came a little late, we kind of changed the topic from religious extremism to universities handling COVID situations. If you want to chime into that,
we might cover other topics if this ends up being a short one because today it's more like a chill episode rather than a serious deep one.
If you want a serious one, come back next Thursday. When
I'm fine with anything.
All right, cool.
But yeah, what do you think? How do you think? Do you think UFM is extracting money out of us, by purposely being vague about their policy?
Yeah, genuinely, I think that. I think it's especially public universities that are doing that. It's not just private universities, but public universities are doing that even more because not only do they get funding from not only they get funding from kids that are going to the university, they also get public funding from cities. I think the state has to pay them some because they're a public university. Private universities don't get that, and then but they charge a lot more. So like that's kind of on the kids for going to the private university. But even if you want to go to like a public university, like you get honestly, we're getting like the short end of the stick because they're raising the cost to go there, even though with COVID they're going to be doing less for us.
Yep.
But I believe Wayne State is actually pretty good. They didn't change any of their tuition.
Yeah, Wayne didn't change any of their thing
Yeah.
because Wayne as a college is about looking out for like the people.
Yeah,
Is about
exactly.
looking out for people. Like
Yeah.
if you look at UMich and MSU, they don't care. They just want money.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
Wayne actually looks out for
And
others.
UDM has been pretty upfront about it too, as far as I've heard from people that are going there about their
okay.
cost. But these are mostly like because they don't really rely so much on housing anyways, because most of the people there are commuters.
Yeah, that's true as well. As for Wayne State, they've been sending emails about they've been really transparent about the whole
Yeah.
thing. So far I know most of my classes are going to be online. Only 3 of them as of right now aren't still might be on campus, but I don't know. One of the emails did mention something about it being a hybrid type of situation where some classes will be online and some classes
Yeah.
will be at the campus, but that's dependent on the situation and that might change any time as well.
I think the thing is the reason why Wayne doesn't really care about increasing tuition or anything is because they already have. If you look at Wayne's like I think their incomes or their connections, they are heavily connected to Henry Ford Hospital. Meaning if you go to their not even just their undergrad but their med school, if you go to their med school, you automatically get a place in their Henry Ford in Henry Ford Hospital's residency. So the connections that Wayne has they are immense. University of Michigan, the connection that it has is to its own medical school, which also goes to its own residency and then to its own hospital. So it doesn't really have outside connections. So they're funding their stuff all by themselves, right?
Yeah.
Wayne has outsourced all the professions, and it has so many outside connections.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's a big plus
especially
for Wayne.
with local businesses. Yeah, you're right.
That's a big plus for Wayne because they don't have to worry about that, and then they can make tuition more affordable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that explains why Wayne is much cheaper than most colleges, to be honest.
Right. So look at the language they use. It should be President Sichel announced U of M will have a public health informed in residence fall semester. This means that students may take classes entirely online. But then if you're taking it entirely online, then that's not an in residence semester. So what are they meaning?
I think that's to also work around ICE because of what ICE is doing to F1 carriers.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think what they're saying on campus everyone can be on campus, but you'll just be learning from your dorms.
Yeah, but then you're paying thousands of dollars for campus that isn't really necessary.
Yeah, I understand that's true, but some people literally can't work at home from their country, from their international students. Some people literally just can't work from home. So I think it'd be worth for them to pay that money and then come here and study. Again, I don't know the situation. I just know that there's also a lawsuit against the Trump administration because what is it? Harvard, MIT, and then
Cornell.
Yeah, Cornell and Northeastern joined the lawsuit.
And look what Harvard said. Harvard said it will bring freshmen and seniors back to campus, but deliver all instruction online.
Yeah.
So they're just getting people to pay for housing without actually needing it.
Yeah, essentially they are because, dude, they also want money. You have to think about it. Harvard's a private institution. They want money. So, they can come up with any reason to have people there, but I also think, being on campus is, or, just being there is better.
Why do you think a lot of people are resistant towards the idea of deferring their admission for this semester and just going to a community college?
And then joining back in winter, you mean?
Yeah, joining back in
Um,
winter.
I mean that might isn't won't it be like I know that for transfer students they don't get any like scholarships from the school itself or anything. They'd
They'll
have
still
to
get
get third.
financial aid, right? Like FAFSA
Yeah,
stuff.
they get FAFSA and they would need to get like third party scholarships and stuff.
Yeah, I already. Most of the scholarships are need based, anyways. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't qualify for need based scholarships because need based scholarships usually come from the college itself. At least, basically, transfer students do not qualify for any of the scholarships that the college itself offers.
they don't. Aren't there transfer scholarships?
I'm not sure. I'm just telling you what I know because one of my cousins he transferred from Macomb Community College to Wayne State, and he didn't get any scholarships from Wayne State itself, but he did get scholarships from like some companies I think he got a scholarship from DTE. I don't know how he managed to do that. He's also interning there. Um and then he also got another scholarship, but basically his scholarships plus the FAFSA like fully covered his tuition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I do know that some colleges do offer transfer. I think UDM does offer transfer scholarships. I'm not 100% sure. But as far as I know, for Wayne State, they don't.
But it's a viable option to go to community college for fall
Yeah, but
season.
for some, it might be a bit more expensive. Like,
For
Wait, community
yeah.
college, like the average cost is like
No,
$3,000.
like I'm not talking like going to community college indefinitely. Yes, that is a
so
very
that
cheap
compensates,
option.
right?
But like going to community college and then switching back to university, that's what I'm saying
Well,
is like
doesn't that
expensive.
compensate for each other? Like you're paying less there, and then I guess yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean Wayne State does have like this program. I believe it's called like Wayne Macomb Partner or Connect or something. Wayne
Oh
Macomb
yeah, I've
Connect.
seen that.
So like you can take Macomb community classes, but it counts as Wayne credit.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
do
so
that.
that's one thing. Unless for my cousin's case, the reason why he couldn't like didn't work out like that for him is because he enrolled in Macomb first, and the Wayne Macomb Connect thing only works if you're enrolled in Wayne and you take Macomb classes. So yeah,
What? How the? Okay.
like
It's just like so convoluted. It's,
basically what I said is that he enrolled in Macomb first, and then he transferred to Wayne. So he was a Macomb student who became a Wayne student. And then the Wayne Macomb Connect thing, it's like you're a Wayne student taking classes in Macomb, but you're like your identity as a Wayne student doesn't change. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just the setting that changes in that case.
Wait, I have a question. Like, if you go to a community college and take all the required pre-med courses, can't you just like do that for like a much lower cost and then just go to med school? Or does community college not offer those courses?
I am not sure. I can ask some people around.
Wait,
I'm,
you need a
wait,
bachelor's to go to med school, right?
yeah. Well,
can you
no.
not get one at?
Yeah. You need a bachelor's too. You need a
You,
bachelor's.
no,
Yeah,
because
but
a bachelor's is a
med school
4-year
is
degree.
med
Yeah.
school is like considered like technically it's a graduate school.
Yeah, it's a graduate school, but
Yeah,
can't you get your bachelor's at a community college by going for
No,
four
community college
four
is
years?
only 2 years.
Oh,
yeah. Community college is only 2 years. I think community colleges I believe you get your associates from them.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my cousin did. He got his associates from Macomb, and then he's getting his bachelor's from Wayne.
Wait, didn't we get our associates after we graduated high school?
No, we just got a high school diploma.
We got our high school diploma and the IB diploma.
What does the IB diploma count as? Like
The
what?
IB diploma is
Nothing.
like basically it's useless for people that are staying in Michigan.
Absolutely nothing.
I
It's
mean, it
useless
could
for
be
everyone
helpful for
that's
like
staying in America, and it's only helpful if you like go out of country.
yeah, international students. I mean, if you go outside of America.
It's an international high school diploma basically.
Because I know a lot of like colleges in Europe value the IB diploma and actually have like perks if you have the IB diploma.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, the IB diplomas are way more in Europe. They focus much more on the IB diploma. Like many students in England depend on the IB diploma to get accepted into colleges. Like they have to get a certain score in order for them to be accepted at Cambridge. Or
And
Oxford.
also, like, I remember talking to Senora Soleski, and she mentioned about like how if you want to get a job, and like need to know multiple languages, they will ask you about like your skill level, and like the IB diploma, like not the IB diploma, but the IB, they give you like a skill level that you're at, and the people that want to hire, they will ask you for the skill level that the IB gave you, so to see like whether or not you're worth hiring because of like your speaking skills.
I should have applied to Oxford. It's like 1/10 the cost and like 10 times better.
But you'd have to
Yes.
wait, right? You would have
Yeah.
to wait.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you
you would
have
have to wait for your thing, your IB things, and considering the
No,
fact
you
that
send in
IB,
your predicted. You can send in your
Right, you
predicted to
send your
them,
predicted.
and then after you get your thing, then you send that to them, and
Yeah,
they'll
but
like,
Vyom, you
Yeah.
have to remember though that when I was considering applying to colleges in Europe, a lot of them were extremely tricky because at the outset it seems cheaper, but for almost every college that I looked at in England as well as in France, they classify American students as international, which means there's really no cost benefit. So for example, if you're from the EU, most colleges there you would have to pay for is around maybe £10,000 or €10,000. We as Americans would have to pay around £25,000, which is maybe what $30,000, $35,000.
okay, that's like
There's-
useless. That's like useless.
It
like,
is. That's the thing. That's at the end of the day. That was one of the biggest restrictions for me to not go to Europe was that there was almost no financial incentive. Because I wasn't from the EU. It sucks.
Mm.
It's a big headache too, trying to get all the the passport, the visa, everything.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. That thing,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
It's
process
like-
they explained to me is crazy.
Wasn't like Oxford like 1,000 or something for like kids that are in state or like in the thing? It's like only like 4,000 or something.
I don't know currently about Oxford. I looked at other universities like Exeter, if you've ever heard of it. Other universities that aren't as like high tier as Oxford, as like better
Mhm.
chances, but maybe. But
'Cause, like, I
you
remember
know.
seeing that they were like, oh dude, it's so cheap. It's only like 4,000 pounds, and I was like, okay, that's like 4,000 pounds like a year, not a year, but like for every payment it's like 4,000 pounds, which is like
I think it's too good. to
you
be
make just
true.
$30,000. I know that.
Yeah. But
Isn't IIT like basically free?
It is.
Oh, let me see.
I don't.
Dude, they're rich. They're like stacked.
yeah, maybe because of the amount of financial support they get, they basically like cut down all the costs that you have to, technically pay for. It's like at
Yeah.
Princeton, where they say
Wait.
like, oh, $70,000, and then they like cut it down by 50,000.
What is 2.2 lakhs?
Lax.
Lax.
Lax. 2.2 lakhs USD. $248,000.
that's a lot.
Wait, what?
What?
No, that's euros. That's euros.
Lax. What's
Uh,
lax?
It's like million,
Rupees.
thousand, like I
Rupees.
don't remember.
Rupees, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So the
Wait,
currency
okay.
is rupees, but lakh is
Oh,
like million, thousand
Yeah,
or
it's-
something.
It goes to
Oh,
about
okay.
$2,028.
Dude, that's so fucking cheap.
I know that's cheap.
Like, imagine paying only $2,000 for MIT.
Well,
That would be the dream.
well,
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to live in
Like
India.
3,000,
Do you want to live in?
$3,000.
I mean,
No, but dude,
Yeah, what-
$2,000 in like India is actually a lot. Like here,
Yeah,
it's
it's a
nothing,
lot.
but there, it's a lot. Like a lakh is a lot.
Yeah, but if we moved back to India, we would be rich.
Yeah, we would. Like,
Yeah,
you
I mean-
carry around a $1 bill, you already have
Dude.
60 rupees on you.
you know what they do, right? They bring in like stuff from America and like sell it in India, like other way, my bad. They bring in Indian stuff and they sell it here, like
They make like
here.
profit. Yeah, make big
Yeah.
bang.
Yeah,
Now, dude, Loki, I don't even think like 'cause the reason why also like what is it? IIT doesn't charge too much is because they have an applicant pool of like 3 billion kids and they only accept like 20,000. So like the
highly
application
competitive.
fee also covers like the first year of every kid. Like for because
Oh,
they
they're
get so
combined
many applications.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ashwin, do you want to work in India? It's,
No, I mean you can go to IIT and then go to grad school here. There's a lot of like
I
a lot
guess.
of IIT kids go to internationally for grad school.
I
And I'm like
guess.
100% sure that IIT has like a Python program in which they just filter out like a ton of kids. Like all the kids that are below this, they filter them out. All the kids that are below this, filter them out. All the kids that are below this, filter them out. And then they only look at like 2,000 people. Or like they only look at like 80,000 people.
I mean, at the end of the day, being in the US is better than going to IIT. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we still want to talk about gender pronouns?
Dude, that
I think I'm good.
I don't know if that's too contentious for right now, but
that just sounds funny. That just sounds funny. Like I call you what you want. Just don't get offended if I make a mistake. That's my stance on it.
I don't think anyone is getting
That's
offended
based.
for people making mistakes.
Like I don't really care what you want to be called. Like I don't care. I have other things to worry about.
And if I offend you, then I apologize, but I'm never probably gonna see you.
the only contention that I have, like, I don't mind if like you make a mistake or whatever. Like, I agree with Vyom. I just don't like transphobes. All right, that's the only thing that I don't like.
Because can that be thought of as a transphobe dog whistle, like saying I don't care, but if I make mistakes, don't get me mad. Is that a transphobe dog whistle?
I mean,
How?
it could possibly be. I mean, it could possibly be interpreted. It's like the same thing with like other far right groups using dog whistles that centrists have no idea they are dog whistles, but they know exactly what they're talking about. I don't know. It could be. Like I could see like somebody on the far right using that as a dog whistle to like signal to other people.
No, but you see it on 4chan. Like on 4chan, if you go on there, there's green text of people
that
being
What I don't understand is though, like when we're here, like I understand like America is in what state it's in right now, and hopefully in this next election we get like a better run for 4 years, regardless of whether the same administration stays in or if we get a new administration. Like regardless, I just hope we have a better run of 4 years in terms of like acceptance of everyone. But what people don't understand is that America's like I feel like as like America, like it's trying to become accepting of everyone. Like here we have the most open discussions like ever, and we try to become more accepting. Like we take people that are like KKK members and we take like BLM members and we try like having them talk to each other. If you go like anywhere like in the Middle East or Russia or like China, or like even India, you go there and you mention like someone's gay, they'll like shoot you on the spot.
Yeah.
Like it's illegal to be gay in Russia. Same in China, and like in India, it's still not accepted because they're all heavily conservative. And in the Middle East, obviously, if you're gay, you're getting shot.
I mean, you don't get shot per se. You get stoned to death.
That's even worse. Like
I know. I'm just pointing.
like
that,
I mean, Canada has made better progression than us,
Canada is way better.
but
For
they're
sure.
still on the same. But they're still like Canada's made better progression than us. But like, and I'm not saying America's the best, but I think people like give America a lot of flack in terms of like developed countries talking about. I mean, of course, I mentioned some developing countries, but I'm pretty sure there are more developed countries that are having a bigger problem with this than America. It's just that since we're out in the open, we're like the melting pot of already everyone, like everyone's different races.
diversity.
Everything's heterogeneous. Like nothing is homogenous in our society. It is literally all over the place.
I mean, I
terms
agree
of
that
race.
America. I agree with you Vin, that America. It's right that America contrasts with much of the rest of the world in terms of what you said. How there's a lot of open discussion. I just think that over the past 5 to 10 years, me personally, the erosion of democratic institutions has led to a very reactionary mindset among a lot of the population, especially the demonization of people. And I'm not trying to be a centrist on both sides, but especially on the left. In terms
That's
of
true.
social policies like trans, like remember it's an easy example. Remember 5, 6, 7 years ago, Gamergate, and then the start of heavily reactionary anti-SJW arcs that how many YouTubers here took? right?
Yeah,
And how that
yeah.
was popularized insanely, and people just went along with it, right?
Mm.
It's like a social trend almost. People
I think
just
it's like,
develop massive reactionary mindsets, and that's one of
yeah,
the biggest problems in this country. Is that when you look at, I agree, when you look at America's history, the melting pot. I just want to say this: is that when you look at America, for almost the entirety of its history, bloody as it may be, it's constantly been a battleground between reactionaries and progressives at almost every single turn. It's always been that kind of a battleground between two, not two varying ideologies, but two varying fronts. And now, with the greater erosion, I think, of democratic principles, especially right now in America, with like developing right-wing sentiments, I think that's a real danger to like democracy in general. Even in Europe, like look at France and Britain right now with Brexit and what's her name again? She almost won the French election 2 years ago. I forget her name.
I know who you're talking about. I just don't know the name. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
me
Yeah.
either. Yeah, she's like, whatever, against the crowd. Yeah.
The problem with these is like when we start like thinking individualistically, like it's very easy to get hijacked by malicious people. Like
Yeah.
when you say like people are having conversations, I doubt it doesn't mean anything because the conversations are rarely in good faith, so nothing is really accomplished.
I guess.
You know what I do like though? It's that principle that I think I mentioned to Ashton before. It's like the dialectic where you have a synthesis, antithesis, or no, sorry, thesis, antithesis, and becomes a synthesis. So it's like when two people interact and when they have a discussion, they both leave the room different people. You took a piece of that person, and that person took a piece of you. So at least they're more aware of the world around them, ideally, right? So at least like that's at least positive hope. You know.
I think the base of like America is very like regardless of whether it's like progressive or reactive. I think both sides are like I think like forget what I said. I think both sides like to America like left and right are heavily reactive to each other. Like if something happens on the right, let's say like the regime has shifted like very right? Like in this time, right? Like I can see that the regime probably has shifted very right. It's coming from Alan. Like the regime has
Alan, what are you
shifted.
doing?
I'm walking around. You're hearing feedback.
Oh my! It's so loud.
Oh, sorry. I'll put my phone on. You hear it now?
Like let's say the regime has shifted very right in these past 4 years, and in the next 4 years, if this administration continues, it's going to shift more right. More what I fear rather than it like shifting more right is that after it's shifted right, there's gonna be like a radical left shift, right? Where it's like I feel like we're always that one like we're like that bike that's just standing still that isn't moving that's either gonna shift left or right, and if you shift a bit too left then you like put all your weight on the right and then you put all your weight on the left rather than slight right, slight left, and you start progressing forward, like on the bike.
Are you a Hegel boy?
Oh, that's. I mean, I kind of agree, but at the same time, I disagree that just by going, the reaction to the right is going to the radical left. I think because if you look at the broader American shift, I think this is obvious when you look at America for the past 40 years, how right wing it's gotten. People don't notice that. Like people talk about, for example, when in this country, when we discuss about free healthcare or some form of free education, so college maybe for 2 or 4 years. When people talk about these policies, these are the most mild social democratic policies possible. These policies have been implemented in Western Europe for the past 60 years. And much of the population there takes it for granted because they know how valuable it is. And it would be political suicide to get rid of them. But as soon as these policies are discussed here, especially over the past 40 years, this complete reactionary mindset has got to a phrase where people talk about it as if free healthcare is like communism, as if it's Soviet government control. It's almost unbelievable to me that this type of mindset has taken form over the past 40 years. And I think when you were talking about the shift to going either left or right, I think um, in terms of like the economic system, this is the reason why people are shifting to more extreme. It's like similar to what Doherty talked about in Germany and Weimar, the
Yeah,
Weimar Republic. As soon as the economy begins, well, not as soon as to, but as the progression begins to fail, people start going to more extremes to find
extremes. Yeah.
solutions. Yeah, which makes sense.
Right. I think like you don't see like I guess like, you know how we have you know how our economic system is extremely right. I'd say it's way more right than it is left, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, for sure.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
for
it's,
sure.
it's either
Yeah. So like
center right to right. Yeah.
yeah, you see, but then you see like a huge migration of doctors and like engineers to the
Mhm.
United States because we pay so much more than they do in other countries. Like in France, you probably get like $100,000. In America, you get at least 300,000. Like to be a doctor.
I'd say
You,
that's true. I think that's true what you're saying, but at the same time, from the I know I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But from the research that I had done, much of the reason that doctors are paid more here, you can maybe put variances on whether the equipment here is more has a greater quality. But if let's say we're comparing Western Europe with America, much of the difference is that I guess what you said more right wing, but in the sense that many companies in pharmaceutical companies are willing to inflate the price or willing to inflate the wages of these doctors, which is why they earn so much more.
I think
It's a
it's
complete
more
side
because they
factor.
privatized healthcare, right? I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more because they
yeah, privatization. Yeah,
yeah, like because they
that's what I mean.
privatize the healthcare, like doctors can make so much more, and they can do so much more, right?
Right,
If they made it public and they made it free, then like you'd see like a huge deflation in doctors' wages,
right. And then that's the
which
question.
I don't
Which
think
Oh,
would
for
you as
sure.
which yeah, that's the question though, right? Would you as
But you
society?
wouldn't see a deflation if the hospitals became worker co-ops.
Ooh,
I
I don't
mean
know. I mean, here's what I find interesting. Then you have to pose the question because every society takes its forms of collectivism versus because the whole. I don't want to go into it just because the whole thing is people dumb it down to collectivism is socialism or whatever. Like there are in varying societies, there are varying degrees of collectivism and individualism in all forms of society, right? So if we're going to talk about that, right? So then the question is, would you then favor maybe possibly deflating the wages of just doctors in a country, but as a result, allowing 40 million people to have access to healthcare and to not
that
allow thousands to die every year? That's the question.
that's the thing. That's the thing. If that happens, I'm like 80% sure that most doctors would be like, okay, I'm just gonna go to I'm just gonna move
Yeah,
and go to another place where there's better pay.
I mean, isn't that
Because
what
what's the point of
happened?
them staying in the United States anymore? And then U.S. is going to have another scarcity of doctors because we already like don't have enough doctors, and then doctors are going to move away to a country that probably has like a broken system in which they can just exploit it. Like I'm not saying doctors are bad people, but like sometimes like pay like if you reduce their pay significantly, they can't afford the lifestyle that they've made for themselves, and then they have to sell everything and they have to move elsewhere maybe to where they'd get greater pay and they can sustain the lifestyle that they've been living for so long.
I mean, historically, we have seen other nations adapt to free healthcare and seen doctors compromising in other ways. Like look at Canada or like the Nordic countries. Like you don't see doctors being like less less popular in any manner. And since the hospitals and just healthcare in general is an inelastic good or like inelastic service, which is like you need it,
Yeah,
it'll be always there, right? You can't just
Yeah,
get rid of it.
I think it's just borne out in data that I understand the worry that doctors may leave, but it's like a similar thing. For example, if you were to nationalize one industry or another, people are going to say, well, they're going to leave over here, over there. Well, in most cases they don't. It's just not borne out in data. Many times, I mean, you could draw it up to many different reasons. So if somebody wanted to move from America, let's say to England or to France, well, there's a massive language barrier or massive other barriers that people just wouldn't foretake if like there's a possibility. Plus, what I think Safik said is important. It's inelastic as well.
that's true. I guess that's true, but like I think with the privatized healthcare because they make so much more if you're like all of a sudden if you're making one third of what you were just making, isn't that like let's say the house you bought, the cars you have, like
Mm-hmm.
your like everything, like all the services that you're paying for, like taxes and everything,
Mm-hmm.
that's still gonna stay the same. but now you're making even less.
Well, it depends then on which tax bracket you're in.
Like,
It could
that's true.
differentiate.
Yeah, I get that's true. Like I think income tax, like that's
Yeah.
your income tax is going to be reduced, of course. But then you're like your property tax and all that stuff. I don't think that's going to be reduced because that's what you bought and where you're living. Your bills and everything are going to be the same. It's just your income tax is lowered.
I think that's like, yeah, it's pretty speculative thinking though. I think we have to like probably do a lot more research about how exactly the healthcare system works in conjunction with hospitals and doctors, because like doctors don't get more money because they see more patients. They just get paid a salary from the hospital at the end of the day.
Dude,
Yeah,
I'll give you an example, right? Just to visit, like, just to do a general checkup, you have to pay like $100 straight up, just for no reason. And even like for
Yeah, but so the insurance company is paying that.
if you don't have insurance, you have to pay that. If you have insurance, then you're paying the premium for insurance. There.
So I guess you have to look at like how, the revenue that hospitals are getting, and then how are they spending that to actually make a conclusion about what will happen to doctor salaries.
Right.
It's
I don't want to
very
say
complicated.
I don't want to say that like because it's America that this will happen, but I think because of what the melting pot and like all the again the melting pot, like everyone's here, it gets so multicultural. Like, and most doctors are from like international. I think because of how it is, and because of how non-homogenous America is, like there are many escape routes that you can just like go back to your country and then make like a not your country, but like go back to like your home country and then make like twice as more as you were making after the American thing happened. After like the public, after it's public, after it's
But
national.
that's a weird dichotomy though, because many doctors are liberal, like they're not conservatives.
I know they're not conservatives, but if you're getting paid 300,000 and all of a sudden you're getting paid 100,000, I'm pretty sure you're like regardless of whether you're liberal or conservative, you're gonna be like, I want to get my money.
I mean,
why would they
true.
support? Why would they support policies that like destroy their income?
But that's the thing. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to mention is that I think Vyom's logic is. I mean, when we're talking about all these things about what they might do, it's a little bit too intuitive. It's a little bit too speculative just to say.
Right.
But I think Ashton's correct when he mentioned about liberals, is that when they surveyed doctors through multiple surveys, they found a majority of them support Medicare for all. They knowingly know they're going to lose maybe $50,000, $100,000. But I think many of them are aware. This is again my intuition. So again, this could just be wrong, but this is like me rationalizing it. I think it's just possible that in this situation they know, listen, I'm making already so much money, and 40 million people a year don't have health care, and 7,000 of them die a year just because they don't have access to a doctor. That we live in this type of society that doesn't seem fair.
And I think you can also look at the doctor occupation, right? Most of the doctors spend most of their time in hospitals. They don't like, you're not going to see a doctor just like taking off time vacation, right? Because most of the doctors are at hospitals, and the pre-med and medical school has kind of trained them to like respect people in their lives, right? So I would say doctors in general are more liberal in the sense that, you know, they're more empathetic and more willing to give their time to their patients.
Right.
I think it's just the system that makes it so doctors get more money. And
yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I do want like the Medicare for all is like something that everyone wants, because then everyone has it, and it's better to take something for granted and have it than not have it and then like, you know, die because you don't have it. Like, you know, that's like something you don't realize something's value until you don't have it anymore. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So like we don't have that, and I understand that like that is something. I'm just playing like devil's advocate right now, like saying like, what if like won't they leave because of that? And I understand that because here's the thing:
you can make that whole argument for like all of like democratic social policies, like increasing corporate tax and this and that. Like companies will just leave.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what economists about right-wingers. Yeah, but that you usually see that's I think born in data. That's just not the case. But it's almost like a fear mongering toward a side of, you know, tool that they can use to scare people into like pushing them.
At the end of the, it's a very intuitive argument. So that's why I like don't trust it really.
Yeah, I'd agree. I agree with Ashwin. I think that most times, like we have to always understand that even when I said my intuitive thing and Vyom said his, they're practically at the same level of believability. You can believe any one you want simply because they're not backed up. But if we talk things, we have to talk about Medicare for all or its usefulness or will people pay more. I think then it's always not just helpful but crucial, like critical. We have to take a look at the data, and that I think informs us the most out of anything.
I think if we have Medicare for all, we're going to need to have a progressive tax, right? Because if Medicare for all comes in, the way to support that would be by taxing a lot on the richer people and then not taxing as much on the poor people so that we can actually support a proper system like that.
I mean, from what I know, I think I agree with you. I would want that thing. I just don't think that it's necessary to like. So if we do a transition to Medicare for all, I don't think it will be necessary to like say, okay, crap, we need more money. Because we need more money, let's tax people. From what I've seen, the research on Medicare for all over a period of 10 to 15 years, it would save us a couple $1 trillion. It would actually be less expensive to do Medicare for all, simply because these corporations who make money off of people and profit off of them, because obviously that's how they sustain themselves, they make all that profit and money, which then doesn't go to the system itself, which means that they have to pay more. But as a result, when the government then decides and negotiates with hospitals, hey, listen, I want this price for this thing. No longer are they going to jack it up, which is, the profit incentive that companies do. Suddenly they have much more money and they waste less, which is why then you see them was saving money. But I agree. I'd still agree with the corporate tax, though. I'd still agree.
Yeah, the thing is those companies that make so much money off of jacking the price up, I'm pretty sure they lobby like over half the government just
for sure. Yeah.
Just to get
both Democrats and Republicans. Yeah, they're all corporatists. Yeah, for a vast majority of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks.
It's like TurboTax, right? It's like the TurboTax
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Like,
Oh my god, yeah.
There's so many ways of escaping tax. Yeah.
Yeah, they lobby all of them, and then like they own everything. Like, I saw this like Patriot Act thing, like the Hassan Minaj thing, and I was doing like before that. I was seeing like the Adam ruins everything. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like the government, like the government has made what is it? They made a website. They outsourced their website to TurboTax, and it's completely free. But what TurboTax did is in their SEO, like their search engine optimization, they made sure that that link that they made would never pop up. So like you can have file free taxing, but like to find the website is like really hard.
Was it really that dirty? Did they really just do that? I just knew that the U.S. government could do it for us. I did not know that they literally blocked off a link to do it.
Yeah,
that's insane.
So there's this website that Hassan Minaj made. It's called TurboTax sucksass.com. It's actually a real website, right?
Nice.
I'll put it in the chat, right? And so essentially what it is like it's all the websites, like what is it, TurboTax, H&R Block, Tax Act, Tax Layer, and Easy Tax Return. So this is like the actual website for like getting like free file program, like the actual free file. Like, because you know how TurboTax, have you seen all those ads on TurboTax that's like free like that? Yeah, because that's actually like fake. Like when you try to type that in, the SEO takes you to like a $60 thing that you have to pay to then have your taxes filed. The IRS had actually asked TurboTax to make like something for like what is it, free file program, so that it would be free for all citizens, right? And many citizens that qualified that can't pay that $60. So like the IRS, like they like paint the IRS to be so bad, but like it's not actually, like everyone hates taxes, of course, but like the IRS isn't as bad as many people paint it out to be.
Yeah, I mean the worst thing though is that it's in the material interest to make sure people hate the IRS as much as possible because they'll view themselves much more favorably. But I think what you mentioned, that's the worst thing though. It's like you're right. Everybody hates doing their taxes. It's long, it's arduous, and it's boring.
Yeah,
and the government could just do it for you. And they're like, no, go F yourself. Like, you know what? We're just going to team up together in Congress. We're going to make sure that the government can never do it while we're still out. Like, dang, man.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? In 2006, apparently, in order to get like votes to their side, what the Republican Party did was they used like some people that worked at TurboTax and had them mask their voices and faces, and they had them falsely come out saying that TurboTax was like falsely like doing stuff, which was all disproven, but the damage like publicly to their image was done already. And then that's when TurboTax came in, and that's when like the Republican Party gained like a lot of what is it, like approval. Like in order to gain approval, they did that.
Dang.
And that's like kind of messed up because the IRS was going to implement free file so that it would save so much more money for everyone and it'd be like less arduous. Like also like in Japan, how they do it is like they send you the taxes in the mail, like what you owe them, and if you dispute it, you like tell them no, I don't owe this, and you work it out. But like they send you what you owe. It's not like you have to calculate it.
That's what's an insane example
So
to me. Yeah, what you said about Japan, like they just like the government does it for you. Just hey, listen, we get anything wrong? No, all right, good. Yeah, all right, let's settle it, and that's it, right? That's like that's. I
yeah.
think there was what is it? There was this college professor. I forgot what his name was. Actually, no, it's the writer Chris Hedges. He talked about the term he used was privatizing the commons. So whatever is like, the commons, meaning what everybody collectively can use and benefit from, it's privatized to a small amount of individuals who can gain, capital off of it. It's like the worst thing, man. It's like, let's get our taxes like done for free. And nope, gotta make